Good evening and welcome, or indeed welcome back to Hands on Film. Tonight we are transporting ourselves back to 1992, the year the Queen described as her Annus Horribilis. And that was before the Prince Andrew revelations. For a classic neo-noir erotic thriller with a very famous or infamous scene that needs little introduction. I am talking, of course, about Basic Instinct. Let's remind ourselves of the story. In Seattle...
San Francisco.
Actually, I think you'll find that Seattle is a part of San Francisco.
No, it isn't.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, well. You learn something every day.
If only that were true.
Homicide detective Kurt Douglas has been tasked with investigating the murder of some retired rock star. Maybe Axl Rose or Freddie Mercury. No, I tell a lie. It was Johnny Halliday. So, Johnny has been stabbed to death with an ice pick, no less, during sex with a mysterious blonde woman. Kurt's only suspect is Johnny's girlfriend, a crime novelist. I want to say Jessica Fletcher.
Catherine Trammell.
Played by Kim Basinger.
Sharon Stone.
Excellent. Well, Jessica Fletcher...
Catherine Trammell.
That's what I said.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, what I would have done if Ben hadn't interrupted.
Oh, get on with it.
A crime novelist, Catherine Trammell, who has written a novel that mirrors the crime. It is concluded that either Catherine is the murderer or someone is attempting to frame her. She passes a lie detector test and is released. Kurt discovers Catherine has a history of befriending murderers, including her girlfriend Roxy, who impulsively killed her two younger brothers when she was 16 years of age, and some other character who killed her husband and children for no apparent reason. Just for the fun of it, I suppose. Kurt and Catherine begin a torrid affair with the air of a cat and mouse game. At one point, they are observed by the girlfriend Roxy having violent sex in Catherine's bed. Catherine ties Kurt to the headboard with a white silk scarf, just as Johnny Halliday was tied by the mystery blonde, but does not kill him. In fact, there's rather a lot of hanky-panky in this film. Bottoms are grabbed, flesh is exposed. At one point, Kurt Douglas and Sharon Stone get intimate in front of an open fire.
That wouldn't be allowed nowadays. Far too dangerous.
What?
It's a potential fire hazard. Flailing arm in the heat of passion knocks off a burning log. Next thing you know, the whole studio's up in flames.
I'm sure they took precautions.
And were careful of the fire as well.
What was that?
It was a joke.
Oh, yes. Very droll.
In my experience, fleshings can be very flammable.
Fleshings?
It's what I call the flesh-coloured material that covers an actor's private parts during the more intimate scenes.
Very informative. Can we continue with the synopsis? And Izzy, the character of Nick Curran is played by Michael, not Kirk Douglas.
Oh, yes, I wasn't quite sure. I know the general rule of thumb is that the son looks older than the father, but I couldn't tell which was which.
Carry on, please.
Roxy, jealous of
The
whichever...
name on everybody's lips is gonna be...
Oh, shut up!
Roxy!
Roxy, jealous of whichever Douglas it was, attempts to run him over with Catherine's car, but dies when the car crashes. There are rumours that Catherine was a rather obsessive young woman at college, and that a college professor was killed with an ice pick while she was there. These events inspired one of Catherine's early novels. The film continues in the same did she, didn't she mode, with her novel seemingly offering vital clues as to her guilt or innocence. There's a couple more murders, and one of Catherine's previous lovers, Beth, turns up, who might or might not also be the murderer. Confused? Well, it sounds more complicated than it actually is. Eventually, the mystery is apparently solved, and there's just time for one last raunchy set to before a totally obvious twist in the tale reveals an ice pick under the bed.
Oh dear. Another sign of the times. Ice picks under the bed. Almost as dangerous as the open fire. Imagine if one of the slats broke during the naughty scenes. The whole bed could collapse. That ice pick could do some serious damage to an actor's body parts.
Oh, for f***'s sake. There probably wasn't an ice pick under the bed when they actually filmed the sex scene.
Tell that to the tribunal when an actor can't walk straight again because he's had his manhood impaled on a sharp hand tool.
Oh, for the love of... He's worse than Richard.
Izzy, why don't you introduce this week's guest?
If I must. Films such as Basic Instinct, which include adult themes, would require someone to work with the actors on such scenes to ensure that everything is professional and comfortable. My guest today is professional intimacy coordinator Alex
Alex de Brett.
Alex de Brett? What sort of name's that?
Your name is Israel Hands.
The Hans family can be traced back to Blackbeard, I'll have you know.
Well, actually, Alex de Brett isn't my real name.
No?
No, it's actually Alan Grocott, but Alex de Brett sounds more exotic.
Or erotic, considering your nature of work.
That's actually a good one, Israel.
So, Alex, before we talk about the film, tell the audience about your role on such productions.
Thank you, Israel, and thank you for having me. In scenes of a nature...
What?
In scenes of a...
A what nature?
You know.
No. I've no idea what you're talking about.
I think he's trying to say sexual.
Well, why can't he just say it?
It's embarrassing. My mum might be watching.
How the hell can you be an intimacy advisor if you're too embarrassed to say the word sexual?
Well,
I mean, how do you communicate with the actors on set?
I normally just point, and make gestures.
Unbelievable.
Everything has to be choreographed. It's like a dance.
What kind of dance?
Just a dance.
A rumba? A foxtrot?
I was using it as a metaphor. The type of dance is unimportant. What matters is that everybody knows exactly what they're doing.
I do like a good cha-cha.
No. I think we're going a bit off topic. Alex, perhaps you can tell us how you might plot a scene of this kind.
I don't know. I don't get asked very often.
You do surprise me. So, to be clear, what was the last film you worked on as an intimacy advisor?
Paddington.
That's a big film.
Well, it was a fan film version for YouTube. I did send my CV off to the studio, but they said that they had no need of an intimacy coordinator.
Their funeral.
Quite.
Because obviously the Paddington film is a bacchanalian orgy of utter filth and depravity.
Well, it could have been, but apparently the censors cut the scenes before it was released.
Oh, for the love of Jupiter. Let's supposing you were working on Basic Instinct and you were advising Sharon Stone and the one that played the other part.
Jean Triplehorn.
No, I don't think so.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Jean Triplehorn, on these scenes, what would you be saying to them? Do you map out the choreography, as you call it?
I usually just leave that to the actors.
But isn't that your job?
It's just that whenever I make suggestions as to what the actors might do in the scenes of a...
Sexual nature. For God's sake, you're a intimacy director. Sorry, please go on.
Well, yes, the actors just laugh at me. You see, I'm not very experienced in that sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
No idea. Ben?
Ugh.
Well, I've never had a girlfriend. You see, it's difficult because I live with my mum and she doesn't like to have strangers in the house. She's worried about the ornaments going missing.
Well, Ben, you've really outdone yourself this time. How the hell did you manage to find the only intimacy advisor in the business who's still a virgin? It's like being a bus driver and not having a driving licence.
You try finding people who are prepared to work with you. Look, just carry on. We can edit something together.
Well, let's move on to perhaps the most famous scene in the movie, Sharon Stone's uncrossing of her legs.
I must have missed that.
It's the most famous scene in the film. One of the most memorable scenes in 90s cinema.
You know, during the interrogation scene, she uncrosses her legs to intimidate the police officers.
Ah, yes. I never saw that bit. Mum usually skips over those scenes which she thinks might have a corrupting influence over me. You know what mothers can be like. A bit overprotective.
But if you cut all the intimate scenes, the film would only last about 5 minutes.
Did seem a bit on the short side.
2 of the female actors in the film intimate that they were not clear about how the sexual scenes were to be filmed and used. What advice would you give to any actor who feels this way?
Are we nearly done? It's just that my mum says dinner will be ready in 20 minutes.
Not long, Alex. Izzy, perhaps you could wrap up?
So, if you like raunchy thrillers with slightly predictable plot lines and have a penchant for manual tool-based killings, you'll probably want to revisit this 90s classic. If, like my intimacy advisor guest and his overbearing mother, you are repulsed at the thought of kinky sex, exposed flesh, grisly murders, characters that smoke cigarettes, and a few choice expletives, this is probably not going to be your cup of cinematic tea. Thanks for watching this episode of Hands on Film. I hope that you learned something, and if not, try listening harder next time. Goodbye.
And we're clear.
So, got much work on?
Yes, actually. I've been asked to look at St Paul's Church's production of The Sound of Music.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, I was meaning to ask, what exactly is that behind your chair?
Oh, that. I just brought it in as a kind of prop. It's just a prop.